Hello, welcome back to the show. We have such a special guest here today. This is so fun. I don't know if you even know that we have a YouTube channel, but we do. And if you didn't know, now you know. You should definitely watch this episode on camera because you're just going to see Angela and I giggling so much. So I have such a fun guest here today. This is one of my oldest and dearest friends, Angela Gargano, who is a fierce athlete, coach, international fitness model, and speaker. Before becoming a full-time multi-passionate entrepreneur, Angela worked as a biochemist at Brown University. Since throwing the lab coat and goggles down in 2013, she opened up a gym in Cranston, Rhode Island, and Angela has truly lived multiple lives in both the athletic and entrepreneurial space, always defying the odds and setbacks that it takes to become the most authentic and relatable voice to the public eye. You might know Angela from competing on American Ninja Warrior not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 freaking times. She won the title of Miss Fitness America in 2016 and has created an online fitness empire for women called Strong Feels Good. And that's where she teaches women to ditch the scale and focus on strength and feeling as a way to measure their progress. She's helped over 500 women conquer pull-ups, like literally from barely being able to hang on the bar to doing a pull-up in her online program, Pull-Up Revolution. In the summer of 2021, Angela appeared all over the world on the Oxygen magazine as their cover girl, and she spoke about tearing her ACL on American Ninja Warrior, and then, of course, coming back 11 months later to not only be stronger than ever, but to be on the show again. So that's her bio. I could keep talking, but honestly, I am more into the personal introductions. So, Ange, first and foremost, just thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so excited to do this with you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So if you've been following along for my journey, oh my gosh, the last 8 to 10 years, whether it was on Facebook or Instagram or when we were doing fit trips back in the day, you've definitely seen Angela's face plastered all over my social media because she, like I said, is one of my oldest and dearest friends. We met in 2013 when we were both competing in fitness. And so we were on the same competition team. Shout out to Kathy Savage. Hey, and actually, we were both up in Rhode Island. We had both gone to school up there. I'm a little bit older, so I was there just before you, but we just instantly, fell in love. We just had so many similarities in our lives. And so we instantly hit it off. And there are definitely some funny pictures of the two of us traveling the world and doing some stupid handstands and cartwheels and all sorts of adventures. So, man, I feel like I interview people for the podcast and they send over things they could talk about and key talking points. And I feel like when it comes to you, I feel like I've been there for the entire journey and it has been incredible. Oh, I just got chills. It's been incredible to watch you as a friend because to me, you're just like the queen of grit. You're just the queen of resilience. Like you have gone through some heavy stuff and you just always come out the other side stronger. So I'd love if we could actually start there. I read your bio and you've got all these awards and accolades and titles. And then behind the scenes, it hasn't been easy to get there. So can you take us back to like, you were working as a biochemist, you decided to open up your own gym. That came with a ton of trials and tribulations. What are some of the lessons you've learned along the way, and just take us back to some of the stuff that you've worked through to get where you are today?
Oh, for sure. And yeah, I feel like it's crazy that Jess and I have literally been together from the beginning. Like before she even had her digital business evolution and before any of that happened, she was the reason that I wound up moving to New York. I mean, we literally were with each other from the beginning, which is really, really cool. But yeah, starting off, I guess we can go from, leaving the lab coat and goggles.
Yeah.
Back when I was a biochemist. And I really did go to school to become a biochemist because I felt like that's what I was supposed to do. Like I did really like doing chemistry, but I just never knew that there was anything else that I could be doing. Like when I told my mom that I wanted to be in the circus, or if I told her that if I wanted to do anything with fitness, she said it's not a real job. And it's not her fault. It's just kind of like the generation that she's in. And she wanted me to have a safe and secure thing. So I went to do biochemistry. And while I was doing it, I just kept thinking more and more about how like I didn't want to be there. How I kept thinking about how I wanted to be doing stuff with fitness and helping people. And when we were doing the fitness competitions, people kept asking me, you're looking really good. You're eating really healthy. What are you doing? So they kept asking me questions. So I wound up quitting that job, which was really tough. And I was working the overnight shift. So I was working 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. in a hazmat suit, which is so wild. And I just remember like I felt like I was falling apart during that time. And during that time, I was also competing, doing Ninja Warrior, all the stuff. And somehow, again, making my money through this like lab coat and goggle situation. And I never really, again, knew there was an opportunity to make that into anything.
Yeah.
But wound up finally quitting, which was the hardest thing I did because I was super scared. But I wound up saving like 3 or 4 months of rent because I'm like, you know what? If I do leave, I want to make sure that I'm not leaving and then like frantically figuring out how to make money so that I can do whatever the heck I want to do, which I didn't even really know what that was.
Yeah.
So I started doing stuff at a gymnastics gym and I would teach the kids during the day. And then at night, the owner would let me teach boot camp classes. And I remember like only one person was coming to that boot camp class for like a few months. And
Yeah.
I was like, shit, like, should I not quit my job? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
One person was showing up. His name is Ray McKay. He's an older guy. He just kept showing up, showing up, showing up. And I'm like, all right, like I really enjoyed seeing his journey, but I was also like, man, like I don't know how I'm gonna actually make this work. And after doing that for months and months and months, finally I started seeing somebody else trickle in, and then somebody else would tell somebody else. And it kind of started turning into like this massive group of people that were coming in to do workouts with me, which was super cool. And then obviously you figured the next step, just like, you were in college, like you get the job, whatever. After that, I'm like, oh, you obviously open a gym now. Like,
Obviously.
obviously. Like,
Well, wait, so let's backtrack for 1 second because I remember conversations you and I having where you would call me, crying or stressed out. And it's like, oh my gosh, only one person's coming. And so what was it for you? Are you just wired differently? Do you have something that other people don't have? But what was it for you to just keep doing it, even though there was only one person? Because I know with that comes, my gosh, like limiting beliefs and self-doubt and worth, right? Like, am I even worthy? Should I be doing this? Is this a sign from the universe that it's not for me? So how did you just persist?
I think the biggest thing for me is I feel like when life hands me a challenge, when someone tells me no, when things aren't working, for some reason, I have this extra fire inside me to kind of prove that wrong. I don't know
Mm,
what it is exactly. I don't know how, like you said, wired differently. I don't know what it is, but I just knew I also had like a deep feeling inside me, and you might feel that as well with your business. There's just like something inside me that was like, no, like I know I can do this.
yeah.
Like I just had some kind of feeling. And for most people, they'll wind up giving up when it is that only one person for like, a couple months. They'll just be like, okay, this obviously isn't working.
Right.
But a lot of times, like right when you're about to give up, right when you think that it's like not going to work out at all, if you push through just that little bit more, normally you'll see that magic. You'll see the magic.
Yeah.
And I always say that with people with fitness, with life, anything like that. Like you normally, when you want to give up and you're so tired of it, if you just keep going that little bit longer, there's something on the other side and it's
Yeah.
going to work out for you. But you have to be consistent. You have to show up. You have to
Yeah.
start trying different things, right? If you're doing the same thing, let's say to advertise for the class and it's clearly not working, then I would just start trying different things. I would literally go into the lobby after with the kids and be like, hey, come into a class. Come
Yeah.
into a class. Like I started
Yeah.
pulling people in to make it work. But yes, I definitely think that maybe it's a little bit of wire differently, but for me, it's like I want to prove not only myself, but prove anyone else who is like, and especially your parent. My parents were like, what are you doing? And I'm just like,
Yeah, of
I'm gonna show you.
course. Yeah. I
So
love the point that you bring up. I think it was, I want to say Sean T, my gosh, probably like 15, 20 years ago. I saw him speaking on stage and he asked the audience, what's the most important rep in a set of 10? And the whole audience was like, rep number 10. And he was like, nope, you're wrong. It's rep number 11. And that's exactly what it is. It's like pushing past that, like that little bit of discomfort. You want to make that muscle tear just a little bit. You want to stretch yourself just a little bit more. And I feel like you've always done that. Okay. So now we step into starting a gym, which clearly you had no formal experience and you didn't have a mentor necessarily. It's not like you were taking a class on how to start a gym. I mean, did you go to the library and pick up like how to start a gym for dummies, or you just sort of found a space and started filling it with equipment?
I literally had no idea what I was doing. Like zero clue. I don't know fully what I was thinking, but I was like, I just want to open this gym, like whatever. So I started looking around and um yeah, I was like, I guess I'm just gonna kind of figure out trial and error wise exactly like how to do this. And the other thing that was really scary, much more scary about leaving my biochem job to open a gym is I didn't have as much money saved up then, right? Because at that point, like, things started getting lower. So I didn't have as much money saved up. So I'm like, I kind of have to figure it out. Like, there's literally no, I have to. Like, if I
Yeah.
want to like pay my rent and live and eat and do all that stuff, I literally have to make this work. So I was kind of pushed into it. And I didn't have anybody supporting me. So yes, I have like my family is around and stuff like that, but they like were not supporting me financially at all. Like this was just like all on my own. No one's coming to save me type
Yeah.
of situation. So I guess I kind of had to figure it out. But yeah, so I started filling it with equipment. I was like taking money from the business, putting it right back into the business. So while my classes were getting bigger, people obviously kept thinking, oh, she's obviously making more money and doing really
Right.
well. Oh no, like it's going right back into the business. Like That's exactly where it was going. So
Yeah.
save a bunch, put stuff into there. Quickly learned that, owning a facility and doing all that stuff, you are not just the trainer anymore. Like you are
Oh,
you
preach.
are the accountant. You're if you're hiring people, you have to deal with them, and you have to deal with any of the issues that might come along with them. You have to deal with members maybe not being able to pay, and then
Yeah.
coming to you with that story, and you're like, oh, like I really want to let you still come in, but also this is a business, so I got to figure out
Right.
what
I
to do.
love you. And
I love you in, but like you really need to, like, it's literally only $30. Like you gotta pay. Like you know what I mean? Like it's like, so
yeah.
that was a lot of huge learning experience. Also dealing with being in a facility with a landlord. My landlord was not very nice. You hear that a lot.
Hmm.
And my landlord was trying to do things and was trying to screw me over with certain things. And I'm a pretty strong female, so I kept calling it out. And I remember being in his office one day and him being like, yeah, well, you're pretty smart. And I'm like, yeah, I am smart. And I'm like, I can't believe that this happens. Like I
Yeah.
like never thought that that actually happened in real life. Like you hear that kind of stuff happen, you're like, no, that would never happen. People aren't like that. And then you're like, oh, well, that's when you have to, learn how to put your big girl pants on and say
Yeah.
no to things.
Wait, let's pause here for 1 second because we love talking about business here, obviously. And so you brought something up that I think is so important. You were running a gym and you were running it because you love fitness and you love empowering people and you're this trainer and you're doing all these cool things. And then you're also cleaning toilets and you're dealing with, you literally, like you and I used to FaceTime while you were wiping the mats down with like the mop or whatever. I'd always catch you at the end of the day. You're cleaning up, you're dusting, you're doing things, you're doing accounting, you're doing marketing, you're doing all these things. And I don't think I know that people fall into this trap in business in general. How many times have you and I both had a conversation with someone who comes to a fitness class of ours and they're like, oh my God, I love fitness. I want to become a trainer, or I'm obsessed with SoulCycle. I want to get certified. And you don't want to crush their dream, but part of you wants to say like, okay, you do realize that that 5 p.m. class you're obsessed with, like you're never going to take that class again because you're going to be teaching during that time, right? And so people will often step into, especially the coaching space or digital business, thinking, all I need to do is show up as my authentic self and post on social media and I'll have a business. And what they don't realize is that having a business is having a business machine. And in the machine, there are different departments. And we talk about it all the time here at DBE. So we've got the marketing department, there's sales, there's customer acquisition, there's customer support, there's all of these different departments. And so as a solopreneur, we're wearing all the hats until we start to maybe delegate or we crumble and we decide we don't want to do it anymore. And so something that I think that was going on behind the scenes for you, also backtrack, you were in your 20s when you were doing this. I mean, you were just a young gal up in Rhode Island by yourself running this gym, but you were wearing all these hats. And I can't imagine learning every single department at the same time for all of the departments would be running smoothly, right? So there were definitely some snags in the business, and you were also building your personal brand. This is at the time that you were trying out for American Ninja Warrior and you were competing in fitness. What got you into American Ninja Warrior? Like, why the draw to be on TV and to compete?
So the funny part about Ninja Warrior, which I always tell people, is it was a complete accident. Like I did not know that I was going to get on American Ninja Warrior. I put in a video because my friend was putting it in. I actually felt bad about putting it in because I didn't want to. I was the kind of person who was like very,
Yeah.
I still am. Like I'm like humble and like I don't want to step on anyone's toes. Like it's their thing. But I kept having somebody else, one of my friends, push me. They're like, you should do this. Just because somebody else is doing it doesn't mean you can't try out.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're a gymnast. This could be really good for you. And I'm like, all right, fine, fine, fine. So we put together a video literally in one night, like to go on an American Ninja Warrior. And I legitimately forgot about it.
Yeah.
Completely forgot about it. You and I
We
actually
were together.
we were competing in a fitness competition. I think this was in Connecticut. Yeah, it was in
Here's
Connecticut.
Connecticut.
And I got a call on my phone from an 818 number, which is the American Ninja Warrior number. I didn't know that. And I put it to spam because I'm like, whatever. And then I listened to the voicemail and I remember you walking by and I grab you and I'm like,
Yep.
oh my God, I just got an American Ninja Warrior. You're like, what? I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. But it was like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So I had to like figure it out. So I also, like, on top of running the gym and doing all this stuff, I then had to find time to train and learn how to ninja, which I don't even know what ninja was. So I would be going and working out at these places. Like I would be working all day and I would be going late, super late at night to
Yep.
these spots to train. So like you said, with the training, it's like, everyone just thinks, oh, as a trainer, you're working out all day. No, I'm literally helping people all day, doing a ton of other things. And then I only got my stuff in from like 8 p.m. to midnight. I literally trained from 8 p.m. to midnight. And I honestly hate being up late at night. So it was like,
Yeah.
make it work. But yeah, complete accident. But it was somebody else coming in and like, it's like they saw that potential in me that I didn't see in myself. Same thing happened with Kathy Savage. It's like, I didn't see any of that potential when I walked into her office and she's like, I want you to compete in fitness competitions. I didn't see it. I didn't understand it. But having somebody else be there and kind of push you to do it, I think can be a really big game changer. And the same thing even with you with when I
Yeah.
wound up moving to New York City later on. It's like you kept saying, no, you belong here. And I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't. But having somebody else like there sometimes and giving that little extra push is really, really important. But yeah, complete accident.
Yeah.
Like
The irony, because that's what you do for people every day, is you're that
yeah.
person for other people. So, okay. So you go on. Yeah, I remember that. My goodness. We were getting ready to walk
Grabs
on
you. I was like,
stage.
ah!
Yeah. Like in our 6-inch stilettos, in our little sparkly bikinis, getting
Orange.
ready. Totally orange Oompa Loompas. So you get on the show at some point, whether it was before the first time you were on or the second time. I remember you doing the salmon ladder practicing outside and the bar fell on your nose and you broke your nose. Like, oh my goodness, that video was just awful. Yeah. So you get on the show. At a point, you decide to shut the gym down. And then I was pushing you and pushing you and pushing you to move to New York because at the time you were coming to the city like once a month, hanging out with me, staying over Mike and I at our apartment. We were running around taking fitness classes. You were doing something that I hope you're okay if I share because I just think this is the best. You, for years, were photoshopping yourself onto Oxygen magazine, Women's Health magazine, and Strong Fitness magazine's covers. And you were so gritty. You would find the editors, you would figure out who was in charge at the magazines, and you were emailing them. And this was like years that you were emailing them saying, I should be on the cover. This is the value that I have to add to the magazine. And it was just rejection after rejection. Like it was either they didn't answer you or totally ghosted you, or they were like, no, thanks. Right. So again, looking on the outside, it's you have all these awards and accolades. What I know to be true behind the scenes is this resistance and resilience, I should say, that you've had. So what made you keep pushing forward and how did you handle, because I find that even today you handle quote unquote rejection really well. And so what is this? Is it a practice? Is it therapy? Is it journaling? Like, how do you sort of handle the rejection or the being ghosted? Because I know that's the thing that holds people back.
The ghosting, yeah. I mean, I definitely get frustrated with it. I think I wind up, there's something that a switch that goes off in my head where I almost get like, I don't want to say if it's angry. It's like this feeling inside of me where I'm just like, no, like you need to see me.
Pay attention. Yeah.
Pay attention to me. So like I will get frustrated and maybe like not email them back again for a little bit. And then finally I'm like, no, why not? Like, and I think that that's another thing that kind of came into my mind. Like, why not? Like, what is it gonna hurt? And the only way they're going to see you, what I've learned so much in life, the only way they're going to see you is by you literally putting yourself in front of them.
Yeah.
Like no one is coming to you. No one's coming to find you. Like if you're waiting for some magazine to come to you, if you're waiting for some brand deal to come to you, like they're not going to come to you. They might once in a while, like once in a while they trickle in, but like if you go to them and you put yourself in front of them and you make yourself known, eventually what I've noticed is like they will notice you. Like they will see you. So I think that was like a big piece of it. But yeah, I was photoshopping myself on the cover. I was sending it to them and I finally got a response back from one of the editors. And she was like, oh, I see that you're from Rhode Island. Like, do you want to come do a photo shoot with us? And I'm like, oh my God, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Like, I didn't ask any questions. I'm like, okay. And then she has me meet her in Connecticut in a church basement. And we're shooting wrist exercises in a church basement. And I was so excited about these wrist exercises and everything like that. And it was cool. It was super cool. But what I realized after that is like, once I established that relationship, I wanted to show to her that you know, she's a human. Like I also noticed, like, you're not just a person behind the computer, you're a human being. So I could tell that she needed help with like finding makeup artists, finding more talent, finding all that stuff. And I had so many connections. So I started linking her with people. I started like, I got you in the magazine. I got my friend Sarah in the magazine. I was like, oh, I have a makeup artist. I have a photographer for you. So I became really like a tool for her to use also. So it wasn't just about the being on the magazine and in the magazine. I also helped because again, I realized that she was human and I realized she was doing this stuff on her own. So I think really becoming of value to people before you asking for things, right? Like I didn't really ask when I was sending these emails. I wasn't really asking for anything except I was just putting myself on their radar to like see me and be like, hey, this is my dream. Like, this is the cover. This is some of the stuff that I've done. But I never was like, put me in the magazine, put me on the cover. I never, ever like fully asked. I just let myself like be available and show that I could help. And photoshopping myself in the cover was interesting because I wanted it now. Like I wanted it to get that cover like right now. And it started showing up in like different ways. And part of the reason that I did want to move in New York is because someone else asked me to put my name in a competition for the Women's Health Next Fitness Star. And she kept bugging the hell out of me. She's like, Angela, put your name in here. And same thing. I'm like, no, I'm this little girl from Rhode Island. Like, I don't like, no one's gonna like care about me. Like, this is a women's health magazine. And I literally didn't have time to put the application together. And I gave them my American Ninja Warrior submission video. And I got an email from them saying, you've been accepted. I was shocked. And I thought it was fake. I honestly thought the whole thing was fake. They were like sending me contracts, telling me to get notarized. I'm like, what the heck is a notary? Like, what's that? So yeah, I was like, I remember being like, what's a notary? But when I went to the city with that crew and they took us around like all over the world for that magazine, it opened my eyes to the potential of not like that the gym didn't have to be my end game. And although I thought just like the biochemistry, that biochemistry had to be my end game, I'm like, no, you can actually live, like I put my bio, like you could live many different lives. If you don't want to do that next thing, you tried it out and you're realizing that you're not feeling like, I didn't want to be cleaning the mats anymore. I didn't feel like that's where I belonged anymore. I didn't realize any of that stuff until I went up tearing my ACL on Ninja.
Yeah.
And then it like my life flashed before my eyes when I was on the course, like crying, holding my knee. And
wait, let's pause here for a second. So I want to unpack two things that are really important. I don't want to glaze over this. The first one is value. And I watched the transformation happen for you where oftentimes for us as humans, things will start as ego, as significance, right? As worthiness, as value for ourselves. And so it may have started as like, hey, I want to be on the cover. I Photoshop myself to very quickly, you're a quick learner. Very quickly you learned, wait a minute, this is not about me. They don't care about me necessarily. They don't even know who I am. And at the end of the day, I'm sorry to say it, but a magazine is a business, right? And so the bottom line is always in mind. And this is the case with all businesses. And so when people pitch themselves, I get it all the time. People pitch themselves to be on this podcast. They pitch to be a part of the team, whatever that would be. You have to keep in mind that it's a business. And so their bottom line is in mind. And so what you very quickly saw was, wait a minute, I actually have so much value that I can bring this magazine. I have things that I can show them, teach them, people I can connect them to. And once you shifted, and it happened very fast for you, but once it shifted from like, I want to be on the cover to, hold on, this is what I could provide you with. This is how I could help you. Their ears perked up and they were like, wait a minute, hold on. What? You can help us with this? And oh, you're willing to do it maybe for free, or you're willing to do it for such a low cost, or you're just willing to do it out of the goodness of your heart with no attachment to an expectation on the other side, right? So the first thing is, this is massive. If you're anyone out there, you want to pitch yourself to something, to an article, a magazine, a business, you want to get yourself a job. It's not about what are you going to get out of it. It's what can you give to them? And the funny thing is, when you're looking at like a magazine or a podcast, it's not even what could you have helped Oxygen Magazine with? It's what could you help the readers of Oxygen Magazine with? It's what value do you have to give them? It's not about the podcast host. It's who's listening to the show and what value can you bring there? So I love that. And I was so proud to watch that transformation happen, because it certainly exponentially sped everything up when you were like, hold on, I can actually help you with all these things. And they were like, wow, we're open to receiving that. Thank you so much. Which the ripple effect then happened too, because Ian, the photographer that we love, he's getting jobs left and right. The makeup artist, Laura's having such an easier time.
They're all getting paid too.
Everybody. But everybody
getting paid, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, I guess whatever.
Totally. We're getting leggings. Yeah. But it's a rising tide lifts all ships, truly. Yeah. So I just want to take a second to acknowledge that, because again, as business owners, so often we're thinking about our own business, which is totally natural. But if you really want to, expand your network, if you truly are in it for the impact, and you really do want to provide value, it's taking that step back for a second, slowing down to speed up and saying, what value can I add? How can this actually serve this other person or platform's audience? It's not really about me.
Absolutely. All of that. And even that's now what, like, I'm pitching brands right now for more brand deals. And that's exactly how I go into the email. I'm really not being like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is what I think that, like, I literally go through their pages. I check on what the stuff that I think that they could do. And I'm like, let me help you. Let's hop on a call and let me see like how I can help you, make this even better. Like, I see such an opportunity here. And this is what I could provide. None of it is like, again, it's obviously a little bit about me, because it's like, they should know, like,
of course,
and stuff along those lines. But a lot of people, that the issue they have, like you said, I get it all the time too. People literally come right to me and just ask me for things. And
Mhm.
I kind of get a little bit like pushed back by that. I'm like, no, like you, first of all, you didn't even ask me how my day was. Like, I
Right.
mean, I get so annoyed. I'm like, if you're not going to ask me how my day was, like, I'm not like, I don't know if I'm going to actually pay attention to this because,
Yeah.
you know, that they're just coming in and be like, can you do this? I'm like, I don't even know you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. I didn't ask you this ahead of time. What are 2 or 3 things that you would say to do if someone is looking to go and pitch? Because I know you and I used to stalk on Instagram or look to see who wrote the article. So are there some things that you would say definitely do this if you are going to try to get yourself into media or pitch yourself?
So it's gonna depend. Yeah, if you're doing media, the brand deal stuff has been a little bit different, but the media stuff for a while, yes, I went on the websites, I found all the emails I could possibly find all of them, like the accounting one, whatever, because I figured at least they might be able to lead me in the right direction, and they might be able to be like put me in touch with the right person. So
Yeah.
I found any contact that I possibly could find. The other thing that really does work after you have to be consistent and persistent with it. I mean, I tagged Oxygen, Strong Fitness Magazine, Women's Health in every single
Mhm.
photo and video that I did.
Yeah.
Every single one. They did not see like half of them until one day they saw like one. And
Yeah.
they were like, oh, who are you? Like, and they kind of went in there. And at the time, like hashtags were big. So we had like
Mhm.
Oxygen, Exhale, Strong Feel, like my strong moment. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's even work anymore, but we used to do like hashtags. But I literally put myself out in front of them and kept tagging them and being persistent on that. Another thing that's like kind of, I don't know if you've done this before, but you can go on the Instagram pages. A lot of time, whatever the company is, they're following those people. So they
Yep.
might be following the editor or the person who's in charge of certain things. So you might be able to get like follow them and get in touch with them personally. And a lot of times, like this had just happened with me with Garmin, actually. Yes, like yesterday. I followed one of the guys who's like the head of Garmin, and I was just like following him, and I would just like comment on his stuff. I'm like, oh, it's awesome, whatever. That's literally for like 3 or 4 months. And then finally I was like, oh, hey, actually, I was thinking about doing this thing. Is like, is there and I think that I have a great value to add. He's like, oh yeah, let me put you in touch with the head person for it.
Yeah.
We just got an email. Like, but that took
Amazing.
like a couple months. That wasn't like in the same day I followed, message, whatever. Like this is
Mhm.
like taking time and, like you said, establishing a real relationship and allowing them to know that you care about them as a human.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love all those. I mean, I've done all those things too. It just takes a couple minutes, to do that. Another thing that I would do, I know you have as well, is look to see what articles were recently written and then actually offer like a polarizing opinion and saying, "Hey, I saw that this article was recently written on, keto and why it's the best thing in the world. I actually have an opinion on why it's like the worst thing in the world and here's why." And so offering value in a way that's saying, I actually look at your stuff. I know what you've been doing. And I either have an opinion that can go along with it or maybe go against it. And here's my expertise and credibility. So, all right. I love that. So now we finally shut down the gym. Well, actually, we didn't even shut down the gym yet. We get on American Ninja Warrior for like the 40,000th time. And this was the most heartbreaking moment. You had a Nancy Kerrigan moment. I will never forget you sending me that video at 2 o'clock in the morning and I was bawling my eyes out. So you do the course. You're like the furthest along female that's on the course thus far. You land and just land a little funky and boom, there you are, rocking, holding your knee, tearing your ACL, which you and I were leaving 2 days later to host a retreat in Costa Rica together. So you tear your ACL. It obviously takes you off the show, takes you out of work. You're running the gym at this point. Now you have to have surgery. This is also the second time you're having the surgery because you had the surgery on the other leg about 5 years earlier. So I'm coming from an outside perspective as a friend who just went through the exact same thing with my ankles. So tore 2 ligaments in the left ankle, 5 years later, tore 2 ligaments in the right. And so I'm cheerleading you. I'm like, you got this. You know exactly what to expect. It's only going to get easier. Technology's gotten better. Trust me. I had just gone through it like 6 months earlier. And that's, I'm certain, not how you felt. So what was going through your mind? How did you not self-destruct?
Yeah, I mean, it was super tough too because I had gotten on the show, the first show in like for season 7, and then I got rejected for season 8 and 9. So mind you, like I got on 7, I was crushing it, loved it. Now I'm addicted. Now I'm like, oh, they're obviously gonna call me back. They didn't call me back for season 8 or 9, but I was still doing like ninja leagues, and I got really obsessed with like the sport and just focusing on getting stronger, which was
Yeah.
different for fitness competitions, right? So I got in there, and I'm like, I'm the strongest I've ever been. I not only been training for this, I feel good, I feel confident, I was a little bit cocky. And when I was on there and I was swinging on those wing nuts, I knew that like once I got past that, I was a top female, which was a dream of mine to be like with those top females. And I was crushing the course. Like I was floating through it. It was incredible to see. So when I landed and I basically blacked out, like I said, like basically my life flashed before my eyes, like so many things that I saw, I was like, oh my God, like I literally can't believe like this is where I'm at. I can't believe they're like, do you want us to take you off the course? And I'm like, yes, like I was crying. I tried to get up at some point, but yeah, I was a mess. And I went into a really, really dark place, like super dark place. And the issue I had with being in that dark place was since I was owning the gym and since so many eyes were on me, I felt like I couldn't show that. I felt like I couldn't show people that I was literally at my house right now, crying my eyes out every single day. I had to somehow be this strong person for my gym and come out and try and feel positive, but I did not feel positive at all. Like
I know
there was so many moments where like I was sitting and I was all alone. Like my parents don't live there. I didn't have a significant other. I had my cats at the time, like just me and my cats.
Oh, Simba.
But there was points where I was just like, I don't want to live anymore. And that sounds like crazy to say, 'cause it's like just a knee thing, but I didn't want to live anymore. Cause I'm like, what's the point? I'm just going to get knocked down again, just like I did right here. So I had to really like sit in it. And like you said, you were the one who was in front of me being like, I've been through this and stuff like that, but I wasn't there yet mentally to totally like absorb that and understand that. Like, I feel
and I think it's really important also because a lot of times we have friends or partners or spouses or significant others that we sort of try to, we don't meet them where they're at. We try to get them where we are, right? It's like, read this book, go to this event, do this thing. And I, not regretfully, because we went through it, but I did that to you in that moment. And it actually hindered our relationship for a couple months. And we actually took a break from being friends for about 6 months because you sort of needed to like go through your own time. And it wasn't that I wasn't there to support you and I was a phone call away. But I think I was probably triggering you to a point that like you didn't even want to talk to me. And so we did. We took like a 6-month break of being friends. And we were supposed to be hosting a retreat 2 days later. You obviously had surgery. I hosted the retreat by myself, which was fine. But man, it was a tough time.
It was a tough time. I felt so guilty too, because I couldn't be there. And then my brain was just not working in the right way for anything. Like I couldn't even like get anything out. I couldn't physically do anything. I felt completely numb to like everything. So it was tough for me to do anything. But like what you just said there, it's like we want to push people, and same now too, right? Now that I've been through it, I want to help people, but they have to go through the journey on their own. And sometimes it takes them, having to sit in your own shit and stuff like that. So
I remember begging you. I'm like, create content. This is the comeback journey. I'm like, Ninja Warrior is going to take this clip and they're going to put it on the show next year because they're going to have you back on. I was like begging you and you weren't ready. But then when you were ready, you did. And man, I will never forget the like most famous clip of you climbing the rope with no legs. You're in a total pike position with crutches on your legs in the knee brace while you're doing recovery. And it's just like this image, they did use it because you were on the show again. And it's like when they called you up to stage to go, season 11 or whatever it was, 10 at that time. That's the clip they showed. And I was just like, yes, the comeback story. But it was so difficult to watch and just hope that you wouldn't self-destruct because you were in such a hard place.
I mean, I was literally in that place of like almost self-destructing. It was pretty wild. But what happened is I wound up sitting in it. I sat in it for a very long time. I did have like people around me that kept coming in and like they would notice if I was quiet or like whatever, and they would come to me. And I remember somebody said something that just always that one person that somehow something sticks with you. I doesn't mean it, I don't know why, but she literally was like, it's okay that you're feeling this way. And I was like, wow, like no one ever told me it was okay to feel this way. They're like, it's okay that you're feeling this way. She's like, feel it. She's like, but you cannot get stuck in this place. Like you are not stuck here. And for some reason, I was like, oh, like you're allowing me to feel the way I'm feeling. You're saying that all these awful thoughts I'm having, it's okay, it's normal, but now I'm not going to get stuck here. What is the next thing that I can do? So what I started doing is I started saying to myself, all right, what can I work on? Clearly, what needs some working on is not my physical stuff. I can probably get my physical stuff fine. It was my mental stuff. So it's like, I can work on this now. I have the opportunity to do that. So I started journaling. I started meditating. I started doing all those things that I thought were like woo woo and like wouldn't actually work. And all that stuff, I started to see a difference. Then when I posted that first video of me doing stuff with my crutches, that was like 2 days after my surgery, actually. And I remember the amount of messages I got, because Women's Health actually reposted that video.
Yep.
And the amount of messages I got saying, you know what, because you're hanging on that bar and doing fun stuff with your crutches, like I just had this happen to me. I just had that happen to me. You're giving me hope. And that's when it clicked.
Yep.
It was like, this is not about me. This is not about me anymore. This is like, just like, you were like, there's a bigger picture here that will be able to help so many other people. So when I went back on that course the following year, I came back actually like 7 months later, which my PT was like, really like you should not be coming back right now. But
yeah.
I'm like, when I came back, I remember sitting there and we're taking my brace off. I did it really dramatically and I threw it off before I ran. So I'm like, I'm not running with my brace on. And I remember just sitting there and being like, I feel so different right now, because when I was there before, it was all about me. Like it was about me. And now it's not about that. Like this is going to impact people. This is me being grateful for my body. This is me being grateful for all the things that have happened to this point. So it was that blessing in disguise that you don't realize until you go through the entire moment. But yeah, creating opportunity from something really negative. And through that time of my surgery, there was tons of issues. I had blood clot in my leg.
Yeah.
Like that just like kept piling up on top of me. It also was exactly what I needed to shut down the gym. Like I said, like, I needed that big moment to be like, you don't know how long you have on this earth. Like that happened to me with my knee. That could happen to somebody on the side of the road. Like you don't know how much time you have. So if there's something that you're trying to push and strive for, you better go do it now, because you don't know, we don't know like how much time we have on this earth. So that really pushed me to be like, I'm going. So then I obviously shut down the gym, which is super hard, moved to New York. I was literally like on Jess's couch, like probably like every week, basically. Like, I don't know what, and I had no idea. This time I had no game plan. I had zero money this time, zero money. I was staying in my dad's basement. My dad's basement now. I was training in at 4, 5 in the morning, just going to classes, just meeting people. Couches. I had no idea how I was gonna what was going to happen now. Like,
I know. I think, such a great theme that you've had as we're listening to all of these different iterations. And you said, you've lived a lot of lives. Something that I find you do really, really well, whether you know it or not, is you have given yourself and other people the permission to pivot. You give the permission to evolve. You give the permission to actually like release things that no longer serve you and put the backpack down that are full of the rocks so that you can walk faster and fly higher. And so when it was leaving the biochemistry job, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm backed into this corner. It was like, cool, now I can actually like run and I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to start these boot camps. And then this isn't serving me anymore. I'm going to open my own gym. And then this isn't serving me anymore. And so you've just done such a great job as a leader, showing that it's not failure. It's not quitting, which I know for me, I've struggled with that too, because I've had a lot of different lives similarly to you. And I
very similar with that.
Very similar. Only until recently did I realize those weren't failures. Those weren't, I wasn't quitting. I'm not good enough. I actually was I was evolving. I was pivoting. I was growing into the next chapter. And so something that you've done so beautifully is celebrate that in yourself. Okay, so you're living on the couch, you're staying with Mike and I as much as possible. We're having the time of our lives. I mean, yeah, you had no money, it's fine, but you're growing your social media following. We're getting into, fitness magazines. We're going to events. I mean, that's all. It's like, that was like our full-time job, was going to events, right? And you have this life in New York as this fitness professional where you're training celebrities. You're on the outside, you're crushing it. Absolutely. Your following is going through the roof. You've got all these awards, accolades. You get another magazine cover, like absolutely crushing it. On the inside, was there ever a feeling at this moment when you're in New York of, I don't know what I'm doing next? Like, what am I even doing?
Absolutely. I mean, like I told you, I mean, there was the moments people were seeing on Instagram was me like, going to all these events and doing all this fun stuff, but they didn't see me like crying on Penn Station on the floor with the homeless people, like waiting because the train got canceled. And then having to spend like $300 I didn't have on an Uber to get home. Like, I mean, there's so many things. And then those moments when I was sitting in it like that, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I had no idea. But what I decided to do at the time is I actually did sign up for a class online. And I was like, all right, I closed my business down on, like in person. I was like, now it's an opportunity to kind of do some stuff online. So I signed up for a course online to teach me how to create courses, which is exactly what you do. And I was like, all right, why not? I have the time, might as well try and make a class and do stuff like that online to make money. And I realized like really quickly that a lot of people who were following me for my journey, for my ACL, really wanted help on their journey and how to stay fit. while they were injured. So what happened is I had this thing called the Warrior Strong method. And it's so funny because like you've had so many online programs, but it was like Warrior Strong method. And people who were following me, I'm like, hey, come apply. I did a call with them. And then I wound up helping them through like a couple months. And I had a small little group. I think it was like 5 people. But that like was able to hold me through. And again, still had no idea if I was going to continue to do this, if I even liked doing one-on-ones online. Like I had no idea what I was really doing, but I followed the course. I just kind of like went through it. And just like you said, trying to start to feel out like, what do I want my life to look like? What if I was going to look at what my perfect life looks like? What even is that? Because so many times I just felt like I was going with other people's dreams or what I thought was the next thing. But like, what did I actually want? So I had no idea, but I knew that I had to go through this process, just like you were saying, and I had to really take some time to really understand my why and like what I was actually doing. So I was meeting all these people doing those things, which is great. Like you and I were doing that and it was awesome. But then trying to figure out what I actually wanted to do next was pretty hard, honestly. Yeah, I had so many points where I'm like, I don't see the light. Like, I don't know where the light is at the end of the tunnel. I don't know what the end of the tunnel is.
Well, it's so hard too with social media. It's the constant shiny objects and it's hard to keep your blinders on. And you think that because you're in a similar space as the person to your right, you should be doing something like they're doing, but the person to your left is having more success, whatever that might be. So you should be doing what they're doing. And so this jumping back and forth and sort of switching it up, it's exhausting and there's decision fatigue and it's very, very confusing. So I think for a lot of people, while pandemic may have been really difficult, I think it was also really eye-opening. So of course, pandemic hits, you leave the city, now you're living in Jersey, then you move to Colorado, then you finally move to Austin. There's been so many different pivots. And all along the way, I have found, and your following is just growing and growing. I mean, you have a massive audience, and all along the way, you have always shared pretty much everything. Do you think it's important for a business owner to share all of the personal stuff? How much negative is too negative? Because you don't want to be a negative platform, but you also want to be real and vulnerable. How have you found sort of the dance between, or like the balance between what do you share, what do you not? Is it important?
Yeah, I know. I love that you just said that because I do feel like there's some pages that I will personally go to where I'm like, I'm so tired of you complaining all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like I click on it and I'm like, oh, like this is just not. But I do feel like it's super important for you to share some of the struggles, especially. There was time where I posted on my Instagram like the past couple of weeks and I was like, I'm not feeling good. And I actually just decided to take the entire day, eat pizza, sleep on the couch, whatever. And I had people messaging me like, wow, did you really eat pizza and take the whole day off? And I was like, yeah, I literally did. And they're like, thank you so much for saying that because I feel like I've been needing that, but I felt like guilty for doing it. So there's a great way to do it and be relatable. But yeah, definitely think you want to be careful and like not being so negative all the time, but you want to be relatable and authentic because that's why people will want to connect with you. Honestly, if it's perfect all the time. Like, it's like, all right, like cool. Like you see that being perfect. Like people really do want to see you down in the trenches and see how you got out of it. Cause that's going to inspire them to get up and keep going. Cause we're all going through stuff. All of us, everybody on the social media platforms, people I've seen with ridiculous amount of followers that I've met, they're having the same problems they're having the same thoughts of, oh my goodness, I'm not getting as many views as I used to, the algorithm, whatever. You don't think they are having those feelings because when you look at them, you're like, wow, like they're crushing it, but they're having that. So when they share that little piece of information with you, it gives you that little extra kick to keep going. So I do think that you should share, I don't want to call them failures because they're not failures. You should share when you're down in the dumps, when things maybe aren't going your way, because by sharing that journey, it's gonna be so much more relatable. And that's the whole point of like, I think social media, it's got such a positive and negative thing right now. It's like, and that's like
a tool.
Yeah, I think that's probably the reason too why TikTok's doing much better right now is just because it's a little bit more real. Like Instagram for a while kind of looked as a lot like fake perfect pictures, whatever, and people are kind of sick of that. They're like, okay, we're ready for like something that's a little bit more real and authentic. For me to see a messy video, for me to see like, oh, like this didn't work out for me and this is what I did instead. So I definitely think, like you said, don't be a negative Nancy all the time, but yeah, you should share your journey. And it's like Gary Vee always says, like document, don't create. Like document your life because your life is going to inspire somebody else more than you even know, even if you don't think that your life is inspiring. Like somebody,
well, and that's the secret sauce. That's the stuff that makes you different. So as a business owner, how do you sort of juggle between the documenting and storytelling and then the actual selling? Is there like a percentage that you're like, I'm going to do this 20% of the time and this 80, or do you just intuitively do it because you've been doing it for so long? What do you feel like is the best?
Yeah, I feel like I've been like kind of intuitively doing it. Right. So for me, like my page is all about getting your pull up. Like you want to
Yeah.
get your pull, like I made that my niche. I was like, everybody's doing fitness and all the full body stuff. I'm like, I want to come in with something different. So you're gonna learn your pull up. So when I'm going through and I'm creating like my social media stuff, I like have my pillars, which I'm sure you teach pillars to
Hmm.
your students as well. But it's like you're gonna get when you look at my page, you're gonna see pull ups, you're gonna see core, you're gonna see mindset, and then I leave that extra pillar for fun and like maybe something funny or maybe something inspiring, whatever. So I make sure when I look at my page that I'm seeing all of those different things. And I also like just share like some of my daily life situations
Yeah.
with people. So I share like my journaling in the morning or share like if I'm not feeling well. So
Wake
it's really about,
surfing.
yeah, wake surfing. It's really about documenting, not creating. Because if you're, I mean, there is some pages that are literally specifically you don't see anything with their personal life,
Yeah.
and I'm sure they do fine. It's kind of figuring out that balance, but I do feel like the people who share their journey, I almost feel like they do better because, like you
Yeah.
said, like that's what
It's that
makes it a little
personal
bit.
brand. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of
Totally.
going on there just being like, again, so many accounts that I've seen workout wise are literally them just, posting their workouts. You see, nothing about their lives.
Yeah.
Um, you get to decide how deep you go into your life too. They don't have to tell them everything.
Right, of course. Yeah. And you don't have to air your skeletons and dirty laundry. As a 10-year follower and dear friend, I'd like to put a request in for some content.
Yes.
My request is more of your humorous sort of actress silliness content. It is my favorite thing. I will never forget the video that we made. We should totally just plug it and put the link in. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I love
when
that
we were
video.
in California, and we made a video all about resistance bands, and we're like wearing them on our heads and our elbows. And you had a video recently where you like walk into your room holding all your yoga mat stuff and you trip and fall. Like I love that stuff. So more of that, please.
I was thinking about the other day. I was like, I feel like if my friend said that, they're like, you're really funny in real
You
life.
are.
Really show that. And I'm like, I'm funny.
You are.
We just had a whole funny thing when I was in the gym with my friend the other day. We were talking about how I was really getting sick of people bashing people on social media. There was this guy who like posted this video about why stability balls suck, and he was like kicking it and doing all this dramatic stuff. And all I kept seeing in the bottom were comments of people being like, "Oh, I use that. Like, should I not be doing that?" And they were getting freaked out to go into the gym.
Yeah.
So my friend and I were making a video, and we're just like, he's about to grab a weight, and I'm just like, nope, don't grab that. You're gonna drop that on your foot. Can't use that. Like it's dangerous. It's
Everything's
like,
dangerous.
oh, no, don't do that. No, no, no. Just so then the person just winds up sitting there doing
Canceled.
nothing. But yeah, you're canceled. So I've been thinking about a lot of that stuff a lot as well lately too, because it seems like a lot of the bashing is getting people more views. But like, if you're here for the right purpose on your page to help people, the idea is to get them moving. If you're a fitness professional and like listening to this, like you're trying to get them moving, so you don't want to get them scared to be in the gym. Just like
Yeah.
with business, I don't want to tell them all this shit. Like keep pushing about all this stuff. Don't do that. Don't do this. Like
Yeah.
then they're gonna like freaked out. Like make sure that you're providing information that is really gonna help people. Like the whole point is to help you.
I love it.
Anyway.
This needs to be on repeat. There are people putting out content for the views. I actually did a thing on my Instagram story this morning saying it's not about being popular. It's about purpose, right? And so there are, unfortunately, in all industries, all niches, people doing things for the views and for virality, but that is not necessarily the best information or the safest information. A lot of times it's just really funny or cancel culture type. So I love that you brought that up. I could literally talk to you all day.
Convert. Yeah, it doesn't convert, right?
No.
You're thinking if I go viral, which okay, sometimes obviously if you go viral, it's gonna get more awareness to your page. If you go viral, you think you're gonna get like the right followers and stuff like that. Most of the time you don't. You're not getting the people who are actually gonna buy into your business. I saw this with my one friend who recently went from like 50K followers to like 113, and he's like a nutrition person or whatever. But it was a viral video that wasn't for that, and
Wasn't
he's
related.
not
Yeah.
getting more. It's your count does not mean anything. Your
Yeah.
likes don't mean anything. I told someone this the other day because they asked me to help them with some of their social media stuff, and I said to them, it's not about the likes, so stop looking at that. It's about community. It's about the comments. It's about the share. It's about what value you're providing. So
It's so
if we
true.
can get our mind away from the vanity metrics that I know is so hard, and really change our perspective on it, you're going to see a lot more success in your business. The follower count does not necessarily mean how much money or how successful you
No,
are.
not at all.
like
And I've seen it happen so many times too, where something might go viral for a completely different reason. And then what actually ends up happening is it messes with your algorithm, because now you have hundreds of thousands of followers, let's say, but they're not actually interested in the stuff that you're doing. So those numbers, when divided, now your impression, your reach, your opens, your rates are actually lower. And so it hinders your growth. So really interesting. Love that you brought that up. So I literally could talk to you all day. Before we wrap it up, am I allowed to say what you're working on right now?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so just as a really proud friend, I'm super excited. You are writing your first book. Can you tell us what it's about?
Yeah, so the book title is called But What If It All Goes Right? And it's basically, yeah, so a lot of like what I talked about here in this video, it's going to be a little bit of my story and all the things that I've gone through, but my goal is to have actionable steps for you in each chapter to kind of get that what if it all goes right mindset. Because what I started doing is I started journaling. In my journal, I would write, but what if it all goes right? And I would write out the scenario, because sometimes we don't even know what the scenario that we even want to happen is.
Yeah.
Understanding that, we're going to teach about shifting languages, and I'm also interviewing some top people, and I'm going to have their quotes in there. I want to ask them, people who have had like, insanely successful careers. I want to know when it went all wrong for them and why it actually was going right, so that we can have more relatable content. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of the wins, but I want you to see why sometimes, what's you think is happening to you is actually happening for you.
Your ACL moment.
Yes, ACL moment right in there. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited for the book because I read a lot, and I just want it to be basically a toolkit that you can use to kind of change that mentality a little bit, so that you're not sitting in the mindset that I was for so long, where I was feeling like really, really down. Like if I could help like ease the process a little bit, and enjoy your life, that's my goal.
I love it. So before I leave you with the last few questions, where can people find you if they want to find out more about you, if they want to follow you and all of your humor, if they want to work with you, where is best?
So you can find me on Instagram, so at Angela_Gargano, and feel free to send me. I love when people listen to podcasts, if they like send me a message and say, this is my takeaway, or if this is really related, because that means a lot to me. Like I want to see what is helping you. And then you can literally just go onto my website, www.angela-gargano.com, and everything is on there, from the programs that I do, from if you want to book a session with me, or like I said, currently I'm working on doing a lot more speaking and sharing my story. So if you know any events especially for, women that are looking to get empowered and things along those lines, or come in and talk about injury and how you can create that into opportunity, I'm your girl. So
love it. I love it. All right. You said you're reading. What are you currently reading?
I'm currently reading The Mountain Is You. It's a book on self-sabotage.
Ooh.
Really good.
Yeah, I definitely will. The Mountain Is You. I've heard of that one. What is your favorite movie? I know you're a chick flick fan.
I just watched this movie, Look Both Ways.
I just saw that.
It's so good because it shows like two scenarios, as on like what, and that like they both end up.
And she's both okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's so funny. Place you want to travel?
I really want to go to Finland because I want to see the Northern Lights.
Amazing. If I were to write you a check tomorrow for $50,000 that you could use in the business or on the business, how would you allocate it? You could split it up if you wanted.
Oh man, that's so tough. How would I use it in the business? I have to really think about that. One of my goals is to help my mom out. So I feel like I might want to use some of that for my mom, because she's a special needs teacher, and my purpose is to like retire her early. But oh man, I feel like that's really tough right now because I'm not fully sure. Probably to somebody to help me with maybe like what are they called? A COO, or like someone to come in to help me.
Integrator.
And yeah, because I'm doing it all, like most of it still, besides my assistant. So I think having somebody come in to kind of like
it's time.
It's
time.
Please help me.
I love it. And then our last question, we always end with this one. So we named the podcast Digital Business Evolution because we believe that you're always evolving and growing, and your business is a reflection of you and your growth. So what is your next business or personal evolution?
Yeah, so again, my next business, was all fitness programs, things along those lines. My next evolution is really going into sharing all my experiences and really helping others with that. I feel like I was meant to do all these things for a reason, and now I'm meant to share them. So not necessarily meant to get another award or maybe win another show, but I definitely think the next piece is, again, like speaking, coming out, and really helping people with the journey so that they can I think that's what I was meant here to do.
Oh, I love it. Ange, I'm so grateful for you. Listeners, if you love this episode, as always, please, it would mean the world to me. And Ange, if you took a screenshot, shared it out, and like she said earlier, actually tell us some of your biggest takeaways. That's how we know exactly what you're getting out of the show, what you're loving, what you want to hear more of. So you can tag Angela at Angela_Gargano and me at I am Jessica DeRose. And as always, cheers to your next evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.